Welcome, dear listener, to a journey through the pages of a timeless classic, The Secret of Wealth by Franklyn Hobbs, first published in 1923. This isn't just a book about money. It's a profound exploration of the mindset, habits, and principles that transform dreams of prosperity into reality. Over the next hour, we'll dive deep into Hobbs' philosophy, uncovering the secrets he shares for building not just wealth, but a life of purpose, independence, and contentment. Through vivid stories, sage wisdom, and practical advice, Hobbs invites us to rethink our relationship with money and success. So, settle in, and let's embark on this enlightening path together. Introduction: the foundation of wealth. Imagine a world where wealth isn't measured by the size of your bank account, but by the clarity of your mind and the discipline of your habits. This is the world Franklyn Hobbs introduces us to in The Secret of Wealth. Writing in the early 20th century, Hobbs draws on centuries of wisdom, from ancient philosophers like Seneca to modern thinkers like Emerson, to argue that wealth is not a stroke of luck or a sudden windfall. Instead, it's a state of mind, cultivated through deliberate choices and persistent effort. In the book's foreword, Hobbs sets the tone with a powerful quote from Benjamin Franklin. "The way to wealth is as plain as the way to market. It depends on two words, industry and frugality. That is, waste neither time nor money, but make the best of both." This idea becomes the heartbeat of the book. Hobbs asserts that every individual, regardless of their starting point, has the power to shape their financial destiny. Each living person chooses, he writes, and each hour that passes fixes his choice deeper and deeper in his daily life. Hobbs distinguishes between poverty, pauperism, and wealth, emphasizing that poverty is often a choice born of idleness or extravagance, while pauperism may result from unavoidable misfortune. Wealth, on the other hand, is within reach for those who embrace thrift and industry. He paints a vivid picture of two paths, one where rash decisions lead to financial ruin, and another where careful planning builds bridges to success. This duality, choice and consequence, runs through every chapter, urging us to take responsibility for our financial futures. Part 1. Redefining Wealth from. Chapter 1. Is money wealth? Picture a bustling city street in the 1920s, where men in sharp suits and women in elegant hats rush past shops brimming with the latest luxuries. Amid this flurry of commerce, Franklyn Hobbs poses a provocative question in Chapter 1. Is money wealth? His answer is a resounding no, and it's a wake-up call that echoes across the decades. Money, Hobbs argues, is merely a tool, a means, not an end. True wealth lies in how you use it, in the choices you make when dollars pass through your hands. Hobbs paints a stark contrast between two men, one who earns thousands but squanders it on rainbows, fleeting pleasures like extravagant dinners or flashy trinkets, and another who invests in capital, enduring assets like a home, education, or savings. The difference between the rich man and the poor man, he writes, is the difference in what he buys with his money. The rich man has bought wealth and position. The poor man has bought trash. It's a simple yet profound distinction, illustrated by the story of a young clerk who spends his entire paycheck on a gaudy suit, only to find it frayed and forgotten within months, while his thrifty colleague buys a modest but durable coat that lasts years. Drawing on the wisdom of Socrates, Hobbs underscores that wealth isn't about earning more, but about managing what you have. He quotes Isomachus, who told Socrates that some live in abundance while others struggle because the former occupy themselves with their business, while the latter neglect it. This idea sets the stage for the book's core philosophy. Wealth is a product of intention, not accident. Chapter 2. The Roots of Thrift. Hobbs takes us on a journey back in time, way back, to 500,000 years ago, when early humans roamed the earth. These cave dwellers, he tells us, weren't so different from us. They began to change from savages to civilized beings when they learned to save, to store food, hoard skins, and craft tools for future use. Thrift produced civilization, Hobbs declares, and thrift began with civilization. This ancient instinct to accumulate, to plan for tomorrow, is what lifted humanity from mere survival to progress. Hobbs paints a vivid picture of a primitive hunter who, instead of devouring every morsel of a kill, dries some meat for leaner days. This small act of foresight, repeated across generations, led to the building of the Saqqara Pyramid in Egypt 6,800 years ago, a monument to human ingenuity and thrift. He contrasts this with the wasteful savage who discards what he doesn't immediately need, living only for the moment. The lesson is clear. Those who waste suffer, while those who save thrive. This principle, Hobbs argues, still holds true in the modern world. The thrift of individuals strengthens nations, while extravagance weakens them. He introduces the idea of the capitalist as merely a man who does not spend all that is earned by work. It's a definition that democratizes wealth building, making it accessible to anyone willing to save, no matter how small the sum. Chapter 3. The True Meaning of Economy. If you've ever thought that economy means pinching pennies until they squeak, Chapter 3 will change your mind. Hobbs tackles a common misconception, citing Thomas Edison's warning: waste is worse than loss. Economy, he explains, isn't about hoarding money or denying yourself life's necessities. It's about wise management of your money, your possessions, and your time. The scope of thrift is limitless, Edison noted, and Hobbs builds on this to show how waste undermines wealth. He paints a relatable scene of an American household where food spoils in the pantry, furniture is scuffed and neglected, and garden tools rust in the shed. These things are the reverse of economy, Hobbs writes. They represent the most woeful waste. He contrasts this with the thrifty family who buys quality items, durable furniture, sturdy clothing, a well-built home, and cares for them meticulously. The secret of wealth, he asserts, is buying once for all. Hobbs shares a story of a couple who invested in a solid oak dining table, passed down through generations, its patina a testament to their care. Compare this to a neighbor who buys cheap, trendy furniture that breaks within a year, forcing constant replacements. The thrifty couple's table becomes a source of pride, a symbol of their foresight. This, Hobbs argues, is true economy, spending wisely on what lasts and preserving it with care. Chapters 4 to 5. The Joy of Work and Simplicity. Hobbs shifts to the joy of work, arguing that it's not just a means to an end, but a source of fulfillment. The truly industrious man or woman is seldom unhappy, he writes, for industry keeps the body healthy, the mind clear, the heart whole, and the purse full. He believes that finding your calling, work you do better than anyone else, is the key to both happiness and prosperity. He quotes a survivor of the Lusitania: "Blessed is that man who has found his work." Hobbs tells of a factory worker who discovered his knack for precision engineering, rising from the shop floor to a managerial role because he loved his craft. This alignment of passion and effort, Hobbs argues, is what fuels success. He contrasts this with the aimless worker who toils without purpose, never advancing. Chapter 5 brings us to the elegance of simplicity. Hobbs warns against freakish fads, gaudy clothing, over-designed homes, or flashy cars that cost more and deliver less. Lines of simplicity and elegance, he writes, are the things to be desired. He shares the example of a woman who, by choosing classic, well-made dresses that harmonize with her wardrobe, always looks polished on a modest budget. Her neighbor, chasing trends, ends up with a closet full of mismatched clothes, none of which satisfy. Simplicity, Hobbs argues, saves money and enhances satisfaction, making every purchase a step toward wealth. Chapters 6 to 7. Freedom and Independence. Hobbs introduces a powerful idea. True wealth is independence, and independence comes from saving. The only man who is really free and independent is the man who saves, he declares. He tells of a townsman admired for his carefree demeanor, whose secret is simple. He conserves energy, resources, and money. This man, free of debt and worry, can work or play, go or stay, as he pleases. His savings are his shield, protecting him from life's uncertainties. Hobbs deepens this in Chapter 7, equating freedom with self-mastery. A man enslaved by habits, whether to fashion, debt, or a soul-crushing job, is not free, no matter his income. No man is free who is not master of himself, he writes, quoting Cooper. He shares the story of a young professional who, trapped by the need to keep up appearances, spends beyond his means on lavish dinners and designer suits. His colleague, who saves diligently and lives modestly, finds contentment in his freedom to choose his path. Hobbs argues that accumulating money and making it work for you creates the conditions for happiness. Money will not buy contentment, he notes, but the act of accumulating it fosters contentment. This idea challenges us to see saving not as deprivation, but as empowerment, a way to build a life of purpose and peace. Chapters 8 to 11. Practical Wisdom for Wealth. Hobbs gets practical, offering actionable advice for building wealth. In Chapter 8, he echoes Taylor's advice to pitch your scale of living 1 degree below your means. He suggests cutting expenses by 10–30%, not by denying joy, but by eliminating waste. Buy furs in summer, apples in fall, and furniture when demand is low, he advises. He tells of a merchant who sold wicker furniture at a discount in winter, only for buyers to pay a premium in spring. Timing, Hobbs argues, can stretch your dollars. Chapter 9 emphasizes the power of desire. A man can get anything he wants providing he wants it hard enough and is willing to pay the price, Hobbs writes. He shares the inspiring tale of a newsboy in Wisconsin, turned away by a bank for having only 65 cents. Humiliated, he vowed to own that bank, and decades later, he did, retiring as its president. This story underscores the importance of setting clear goals and persevering, no matter the obstacles. In Chapter 10, Hobbs critiques America's obsession with price over quality. He recounts a shoe sale where customers bought $12 shoes, assuming they were superior, only to learn they were identical to $6 pairs. This price-worshipping mindset, he warns, leads to poor choices. Instead, he advocates for discernment, buying what truly serves your needs, not what costs the most. Chapter 11 reinforces this with a call to buy with intention. Suppose we buy what we need and want when we need and want it, Hobbs suggests, and refuse to buy until we get just what we need. He shares the story of a family who impulsively bought a trendy lamp, only to find it clashed with their decor and gathered dust. By contrast, their neighbors, who waited to buy a classic chandelier, found joy in its timeless beauty. Discernment, Hobbs argues, saves money and enhances satisfaction. Part 2. The Habits of the Wealthy. Chapter 12. The Historical Roots of Thrift. Imagine a world thousands of years ago, where our ancestors huddled around fires, planning for the future. In Chapter 12, Franklyn Hobbs takes us back to these ancient beginnings, arguing that thrift, the habit of saving for tomorrow, is the cornerstone of human progress. Even savages accumulated, he writes, noting how they stored resources to pass to their descendants. This instinct to save, to build beyond the moment, is what shaped the modern world. The results of the labor of those who lived before us make the world as we see it today, Hobbs declares. He paints a vivid picture of an early tribe, carefully preserving seeds from a bountiful harvest to plant the next season. This simple act of foresight, repeated across centuries, led to the agricultural revolutions that built empires. Hobbs contrasts this with the wasteful, who squandered their surplus and perished in lean times. In the 1920s, he sees the same principle at play. Those who save strengthen their families and nations, while those who waste weaken them. He tells of a shopkeeper who, by setting aside a small portion of each day's earnings, built a nest egg that sustained his family through a sudden illness. Thrift, Hobbs argues, is not just a habit, it's a legacy. Chapters 13 to 15, Careful Stewardship. Hobbs turns to the art of stewardship, caring for what you own to maximize its value. He laments the wastefulness of American households, estimating that discarded food, neglected tools, and damaged furniture could sustain another person entirely. Waste is the enemy of wealth, he warns, urging us to treat our possessions with respect. He shares the story of a young couple who furnished their home with sturdy, timeless pieces, a walnut dresser, a leather-bound chair, caring for them as if they were family heirlooms. Decades later, their children inherit these items, each scratch and polish mark telling a story of love and care. By contrast, their neighbors buy cheap, trendy furniture that splinters and fades, forcing constant replacements. There is a pride of ownership in an article which has been long in the family, Hobbs writes, evoking the sentimental and financial value of durability. Hobbs emphasizes buying quality over quantity. He recounts a farmer who invests in a well-made plow, which serves him for decades, while his neighbor buys a bargain model that breaks mid-season, costing more in repairs. Buy things which are made to last, Hobbs advises, and take care of them when you have them. This habit of stewardship, he argues, stretches your dollars and builds a foundation for wealth. Chapters 16 to 18, The Power of Purposeful Work. Hobbs celebrates work as more than a paycheck. It's a pathway to fulfillment and prosperity. The man who has found his work is blessed. He quotes from a survivor of the Lusitania, emphasizing that aligning your efforts with your talents is a habit of the wealthy. In Chapter 17, he tells of a seamstress who discovers her gift for designing elegant dresses. Her passion transforms her small shop into a thriving business, not because she chased money, but because she poured her heart into her craft. The truly industrious are seldom unhappy, Hobbs writes, for industry keeps the mind clear and the purse full. He broadens this to the collective power of work, citing John Ruskin. The prosperity of any nation is in exact proportion to the quantity of labor which it spends in obtaining and employing means of life. Hobbs sees purposeful work as the engine of wealth, both personal and societal. He shares the story of a community that, after a devastating flood, rebuilds through collective effort, carpenters, farmers, and teachers working together. Their labor restores not just their homes, but their confidence and prosperity. This habit of purposeful work, Hobbs argues, is what separates the thriving from the stagnant. Chapters 19 to 22, The Art of Spending Wisely. Spending money, Hobbs tells us in chapters 19 to 22, is not a casual act. It's a fine art, one the wealthy have mastered. Earning money is an occupation, he writes, but spending it wisely is a fine art. In Chapter 20, he advises buying with intention, choosing items that harmonize with what you own. He shares the story of a couple who, on a modest income, create an enviable home by selecting classic furniture and decor that complement each other. Their neighbors, chasing trends, fill their home with mismatched pieces, always dissatisfied. Buy things which go together, Hobbs urges, and you effectively double your income. In Chapter 21, he warns against freakish purchases, items that dazzle but quickly lose their charm. He recounts a man who buys a garish, oversized clock, only to tire of it within weeks, while his friend chooses a simple, elegant timepiece that brings joy for years. This discernment, Hobbs argues, is a habit that saves money and enhances satisfaction. Chapter 22 introduces the concept of seasonal buying to stretch your dollars. Hobbs tells of a merchant who buys coal in summer, when prices are low, saving enough to fund his daughter's education. The thrifty man buys when others do not, Hobbs notes, emphasizing timing as a key habit of the wealthy. Through these stories, he shows that wise spending isn't about spending less. It's about spending better, making every dollar work toward your goals. Chapters 23 to 26, Progressive Housekeeping. In Chapter 23, Hobbs introduces progressive housekeeping, a habit where savings are reinvested into increasingly significant purchases. He tells the inspiring story of a young couple earning just $18 a week. By saving diligently, they buy a comfortable chair, then a pianola, and eventually a home. Over decades, their disciplined habits lead to a real estate portfolio that secures their future. Each purchase should lead to a better one. Hobbs writes, painting a picture of wealth as a ladder climbed one thoughtful step at a time. In chapters 24 to 26, he expands this idea, urging listeners to save for specific goals, a home, an investment, a legacy. He shares the story of a clerk who, inspired by his employer's frugality, begins saving for a small business. Years later, he owns a thriving store, his savings having paved the way. Saving without purpose is like sailing without a destination, Hobbs cautions. This habit of directed saving, he argues, makes wealth building accessible to all, no matter their income. Chapters 27 to 33, Navigating Prosperity's Pitfalls. In the final chapters of Part 2, Hobbs addresses the challenges of prosperity. In Chapter 27, he quotes an old proverb, "A smooth sea never made a skillful mariner." Prosperity, if unchecked, can dull judgment, leading to extravagance. He tells of a newly wealthy merchant who buys lavish goods to impress others, only to find himself in debt. By contrast, his thrifty friend buys with discrimination, seeking value over status, and enjoys lasting contentment. In chapters 28 to 33, Hobbs offers practical tips to avoid these pitfalls: buy quality over flash, avoid high prices driven by demand, and care for what you own. He recounts a woman who preserves her family's silverware, polishing it weekly, ensuring it lasts generations. Carefulness and thrift breed happiness and riches. Hobbs writes, while extravagance breeds regret. These habits, he argues, sustain wealth and foster a life of purpose. Part 3. From Labor to Capital. Chapter 34. From Worker to Wealth Builder. All right, let's kick things off with Chapter 34, where Hobbs lays out the big idea. Anybody can go from being a laborer to a capitalist. It's not about being born with a silver spoon. It's about choices. He tells this awesome story about a guy who started as a crane operator in a steel mill. This dude wasn't content just doing his job. He watched his bosses, learned their moves, and took on extra responsibilities. Before long, he's climbing the ladder, ending up as an executive. The difference between capitalist and laborer, Hobbs says, is the difference between the man who spends all he earns and the man who keeps a part of his earnings and also lays up daily an added store of knowledge. It's like you don't just work for a paycheck. You work to learn, to grow, to save. Hobbs is all about that mindset shift. He's saying, hey, every dollar you don't blow on junk is a step toward being your own boss. Picture two coworkers. One's always buying the latest gadgets, while the other socks away a bit each month and reads up on investments. Guess who's closer to owning their future? Yup, the saver. That's the capitalist vibe Hobbs wants us to catch. Chapters 35 to 38, The Power of Small Savings. Now, in chapters 35 to 38, Hobbs gets super excited about small savings, those little bits that add up big. He's like, don't sleep on the pennies. He shares this cool story about a kid named Bobby Burns, not the poet, but a boy inspired by the thrifty Robert Burns. Bobby starts with $50 from selling doghouses he built. Instead of blowing it on candy or toys, he saves it, then invests in small ventures, like buying tools to make more doghouses. Fast forward, and Bobby's a grown man owning waterworks and utilities, all because he kept saving and reinvesting. Mony a mickle max a muckle, Hobbs quotes, an old saying meaning lots of little savings make a big pile. I love how Hobbs makes this feel doable. You don't need a big paycheck to start. He's like, save a dollar here, a dime there, and it's like planting seeds for a money tree. He tells of a waitress who saves her tips in a jar, eventually buying a share in a local bakery. That share grows, and soon she's part owner. It's not magic, it's just sticking with it. Hobbs is cheering us on to think long-term, to see every saved buck as a piece of our future capital. Chapters 39 to 43, Habits of the Self-Made. Okay, chapters 39 to 43 are where Hobbs nerds out on the habits of self-made millionaires, and it's kind of mind-blowing how simple their tricks are. He talks about John D. Rockefeller, who was, like, the king of oil, but as a kid, he kept track of every penny in a little account book. Even as a billionaire, he was frugal, never wasting a dime. Then there's E.H. Harriman, a railroad tycoon who saved paper clips and ran a side hustle selling milk from his cows. These guys weren't born rich. They got there because thrift was their default setting. The self-made millionaire has amassed his wealth by saving the pennies which were the foundation of his fortune, Hobbs says. It's wild to think about, right? These big shots were obsessive about small stuff. Hobbs is like, if Rockefeller can save paper clips, you can skip that overpriced coffee sometimes. He tells of a factory worker who mimics his boss's habit of tracking expenses. That worker starts cutting out small luxuries, saving enough to buy a used car for a delivery side gig. That gig grows, and soon he's got his own business. It's all about copying those millionaire habits. Track your money, save the little bits, and let them work for you. Chapters 44 to 47, Learning from the Greats. Hobbs keeps the millionaire stories coming, and they're so inspiring. He dives deeper into Rockefeller's life, showing how his early habit of saving every spare cent let him seize opportunities others missed. Same with Harriman, who turned his dairy side hustle into serious cash because he never stopped looking for ways to grow his money. Hobbs is like, these guys didn't just work hard, they worked smart, always learning and saving. He shares a story about a young carpenter who hears about Rockefeller's account book and decides to try it. Every night, He jots down what he spends: nails, lunches, rent. He realizes he's wasting money on bar tabs, so he cuts back, saving enough to buy better tools. Those tools let him take on bigger jobs, and soon he's running his own crew. The man who keeps accounts becomes a capitalist, Hobbs says, because knowing where your money goes gives you control. I love how Hobbs makes this feel like something we can all do. It's not about being a genius. It's about paying attention. Start a little notebook, track your spending, and you're already acting like a future tycoon. That's the kind of practical stuff Hobbs is all about. Chapters 48 to 52, Purposeful Saving. Hobbs gets into why saving needs a purpose. Just hoarding cash for no reason? That's boring and kind of pointless. He's like, save for something big. A house, a business, your kid's future. He tells of a teacher who saves for years to buy a small farm, dreaming of a quiet life, growing her own food. Her savings give her a goal, keeping her motivated even when times are tough. That farm becomes her legacy, proof that purposeful saving pays off. Then there's this clerk who sees his boss eat a simple lunch while he's splurging on fancy sandwiches. Hobbs points out, extravagant living breeds unhappiness and poverty, while carefulness and thrift breed happiness and riches. The clerk starts packing his own lunch, saving the difference. That money goes toward a real estate course, and soon he's flipping houses on the side. It's all about having a why for your savings. It turns a chore into a mission. Hobbs is like your encouraging uncle here, nudging you to dream big, but start small. Got a goal? Save for it, bit by bit, and watch how it changes your whole mindset. Chapters 53 to 56, Building Capital, Step by Step. Wrapping up Part 3, Chapters 53 to 56 are all about how those little steps, saving, learning, staying focused, build you into a capitalist. Hobbs tells of a mechanic who starts fixing bikes on the side, saving every extra dollar. He buys a small garage, then another, and eventually he's running a chain of repair shops. It didn't happen overnight. It was years of saying no to flashy purchases and yes to opportunities. The capitalist is the man who makes his money work, Hobbs says. He also warns against comparing yourself to others. You see someone with a shiny car and think, I'm falling behind. Hobbs is like, chill, focus on your own path. He shares a story of a baker who ignores his neighbor's fancy lifestyle, quietly saving to expand his bakery. That baker ends up employing the neighbor when hard times hit. It's all about sticking to your plan, building your capital one smart choice at a time. Part 4, Investing Wisely and Giving Well. Chapters 57 to 59, Labor as the Foundation. All right, let's start with Chapter 57, where Hobbs is all about labor being the backbone of wealth. He's like, work hard, and you're already halfway to winning. He name drops big shots like Thomas Edison, who went from selling newspapers to inventing light bulbs, and James Watt, a tinkerer who gave us the steam engine. Labor is the test of a man, Hobbs says, meaning your hustle sets you up for everything else. He tells this story of a kid who starts as a delivery boy, running errands for a local shop. He works his tail off, learns the business, and by his 30s, he's managing multiple stores. It's not just about the paycheck. It's about showing up, learning, and building skills. Hobbs is saying, your work is your launch pad. Picture yourself grinding at a job you love, picking up tricks of the trade, and using that to level up. That's the vibe. Labor isn't just sweat. It's the seed of your capital. In chapters 58 and 59, he doubles down, saying hard work builds confidence and opens doors. Like, the more you put in, the more you believe you can handle bigger stuff. It's like a snowball effect. Start small, keep at it, and suddenly you're ready to invest and grow. Chapters 60 to 62, Prepping for the Rainy Days. Now, in chapters 60 to 62, Hobbs gets practical about getting ready for when life throws curveballs. He's like, don't wait for a crisis, plan for it. He suggests selling off stuff you don't need, old furniture, clothes, that random junk in your attic. He tells this awesome story about a Chicago family who cleans out their attic and makes $841 selling old lamps, books, and even a rusty bike. That cash becomes their emergency fund, saving them when their car breaks down. It's such a simple hack, right? Look around your place. What's collecting dust? That old gaming console or those sneakers you never wear could be cash in your pocket. Hobbs is all about turning clutter into a safety net. He's like, do little things now, so big things don't stress you out later. He quotes this line, "Do little things now, so shall big things come to thee by and by asking to be done." It's like, take care of the small stuff, and you're ready for whatever comes. He also pushes saving for the unexpected, not just hoarding for no reason. Think of it like keeping an umbrella handy. You don't want to get soaked when the storm hits. This prep work is what lets you invest with confidence, knowing you've got a cushion. Chapters 63 to 65, Saving as Smart Spending. In chapters 63 to 65, Hobbs flips the script on saving, calling it strategic spending. He's like, saving isn't about being cheap. It's about making every dollar count. He says, saving means making every dollar bring 100 cents worth of return. I love that. It's not about locking your money away. It's about using it to build something bigger. He gives a shout out to women who run households like pros, stretching every penny. He tells of a mom who plans meals so nothing goes to waste, using leftovers for new dishes and buying in bulk to save. Her family eats well, and she's got extra to invest in a college fund for her kids. It's like she's a financial ninja, making every buck work overtime. Then there's this story about Commodore Vanderbilt, a mega-rich guy who still taught his kids to be thrifty. Even with all his millions, he had his sons earn their keep, learning to value every dollar. Hobbs is like, if Vanderbilt can raise his kids to save, you can too. It's about building habits where saving feels natural, like brushing your teeth. That's how you turn your income into capital that grows. Chapter 66, Giving Without Losing It All. Chapter 66 is where Hobbs gets deep about giving, and it's super real. He's like, giving is awesome, but don't go broke doing it. Rich folks, he says, get hit up for donations all the time, and it's easy to give too much. He tells this sad story of a guy who hands out his fortune to every cause, only to end up needing charity himself when he's old. Unwise giving is worse than no giving at all, Hobbs warns. Instead, he's all about giving smart. Support causes you believe in, but keep your own future secure. He shares an example of a shop owner who donates a small percentage of her profits to a local school, but only after she's saved for her business and family. Her giving feels good because it's sustainable. She's helping without hurting herself. It's like, think of giving as planting seeds. You want to share, but you gotta make sure your own garden's thriving too. Hobbs is saying, be generous, but be strategic. That way, you can keep making a difference for years. Chapters 67 to 69, Investing Like a Boss. Wrapping up with chapters 67 to 69, Hobbs dives into investing, and he's got some serious warnings. He's like, don't fall for get-rich-quick schemes. He tells of folks who traded safe government bonds for sketchy stocks, chasing big returns, only to lose everything. There is no such thing as an investment bargain, he says, and I'm like, amen to that. His advice? Stick to safe, steady investments and talk to legit bankers or brokers. He shares a story of a teacher who invests her savings in a boring but reliable bond fund. It grows slowly, but by retirement, she's got a comfy nest egg. Compare that to her friend who jumps on a hot stock tip and loses half his savings. Hobbs is all about playing the long game, slow and steady wins. He also says to keep learning about money. Read up, ask questions, and don't just trust random advice. It's like, be your own money detective. That's how you build wealth that lasts, not some flash-in-the-pan gamble. Conclusion, the timeless wisdom of thrift. As we close the pages of The Secret of Wealth, we're left with a profound truth. Wealth is not a destination, but a journey shaped by daily choices. Franklyn Hobbs' message, rooted in the wisdom of ages, is as relevant today as it was in 1923. His call to industry, frugality, and discernment challenges us to rethink our habits, from the way we spend to the way we save and invest. Through stories of newsboys who became bankers, laborers who became capitalists, and millionaires who saved paper clips, Hobbs shows that wealth is within reach for those who dare to plan and persevere. Yet, Hobbs' vision extends beyond money. He reminds us that true wealth includes contentment, independence, and the ability to give meaningfully to others. The mold of a man's fortune is in his own hands, he quotes Bacon, urging us to take control of our financial futures. In a world of instant gratification and fleeting trends, The Secret of Wealth is a timeless guide, inviting us to build not just fortunes, but lives of purpose and legacy. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the secret of wealth. May Hobbs' wisdom inspire you to choose wisely, save diligently, and grow rich in every sense of the word. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep dreaming.